This video has been brought to you by Wallop Technologies.
Arcade Heroes.
It's Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and got a video that I came across on LinkedIn today. I follow some companies over in China where, just out of curiosity to see what might be heading over to our shores, or just the West in general. Could come to just Europe, or could come to Europe as well as the States at some point. But there's this new video racing game from a company I've never heard of called, I think, Booty Low. And this game, it has one interesting concept that I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen done before, where it combines a video game with a merchandiser, but like a, well, that's been done before, but what I should say is a racing game, and you can kind of see it here in the center between these two screens. You can see that there's a prize, and there's a couple of boxes for a prize that you can win. And so obviously I'm not a huge fan of Redemption. Anybody who's watched this channel for a long time knows that. In my own arcade, I have very little in the way of prizes. Yes, there are a few machines, but I actually don't own them. I let somebody else operate them and deal with the hassle, I guess you could say. But one thing that I cannot deny, no matter how much I don't like it, is that Redemption prizes makes tons of money in the arcade business. And if you're looking to get into the arcade business, it's generally not recommended that you do what I do and ignore Redemption or shun it. It's generally best seen to embrace it fully, and that's why a lot of places that you'll go to, like Round 1 USA or Dave & Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese's, is so heavy on Redemption because that's what most people will put their money into. And now, with my model of having a lot of newer video games, I do see a lot of video games do well in that instance where they're not competing with the prizes. But I do have a big competitor sitting just down the hall from me, and they have a lot of Redemption games, and I obviously lose business to them on that. But this is something that, who knows, maybe could breach the two and offer a way to have video gaming with prizes. If this were me, if I had this game, not saying that I am interested in this particular game, as we'll see here, but I would probably put not like a model in there. I'd probably put a model car, not a statue of some kind. But again, this is coming from some Chinese company, again, that I've never heard of. I'm keeping the sound off because there's a lot of talking on it and in Chinese, and some music, and I'm sure that could get dinged. But yeah, there's a close-up on the prizes. And now, one odd thing about this, I had to watch the whole video, is when it shows direct captures like this, the frame rate's absolutely horrible. But when it shows it on the screen like that, it looks fine. So my guess is that their capture device, whoever filmed this, they just had a very poor capture device or a poor setup, capturing at a low frame rate. And again, I stress this a lot too. If you're a manufacturer, you're involved with the manufacturer at all, don't ever do that. Spend the extra money to get a good capture device that can capture at 60 frames a second. Because if that's what the game is actually running at, which again it looks like it is, then that's better. Now, what's really weird is that this one on the marquee, and Chinese companies do this all the time, they'll have a different name for the marquee, and then one name for the marquee, and then a different one in the game itself. And so this one on the marquee says 3-screen racing, but the game itself, it calls it Around the Road. Now, looking at this, it looks like a mobile game. Again, have to ignore the really crappy frame rate here, because again, that must just be the capture device. But I did a little bit of searching and I couldn't find anything about it. Again, it does look like a mobile game, and so maybe it is adapted from something else. Maybe one of you out there is familiar with whatever game this is and can make comment. But again, at least it looks all right from the frame rate perspective on the actual screen itself, and it has motion on it. Now, who might possibly grab this for the States? I'm not sure. I mean, there is one distributor that's been growing and expanding and doing well, and that's Amusement Source International. They're based out of Texas. Their leader is one who was the CEO of GameWorks for a while, or for several years. And so they've been importing a lot of games from China, and so they could be one possibility, but there are some others as well. Coastal Amusements is one that seems to get games from China, especially ones that are video redemption related. This would be a video merchandiser of a sort, or I don't know if Unis would do that. Unis generally seems to do their own thing as opposed to grabbing it from other Chinese manufacturers, at least from what I can usually tell. But this one does actually have online play too, and in the description it mentioned that you could play against other units in China, and this is something that has been done before. Global VR tried this back with their NASCAR, EA Sports NASCAR arcade games, where the team racing version, which I think came out in 2010, had online play between locations, and it's happened in, also think the first MotoGP, not the MotoGP VR, but MotoGP itself could also do that, as I recall, but I just haven't heard of that ever being a big success. I also think Speed Driver 5, which was developed by IGS, has that sort of support. But just figured I'd bring this up. Who knows, we might see this. I'll be going to IAAPA in November, which is in Orlando, Florida, and that's where we generally get to see a lot of brand new games, and that includes games from Chinese manufacturers. Oftentimes there's things that I only see there once and never see it again, and getting a hold of them is very difficult. One that I've wanted to see more about is called Super Firing, which, as weird as that name sounds, it was a copy or a new take on Sega's Too Spicy light gun fighting game, and that concept was always interesting to me, but it's, I guess, maybe not always the most interesting to casual players out there. But this one being a racing game, who knows if it could do well on the market, with especially with a prize component. Do you think that's a good idea yourself? Is that a type of game that would play? Would that get you to play a game, especially one that maybe is an original creation or a mobile port from something that isn't terribly well known? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next video.